I'm going to call the meeting to order, and at this time we'll pause to seek guidance. You all have the the agenda in front of you, so I don't believe there's any more additions to the agenda, is there?
Not for me.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Thank you. Now we're going to go into the presentation delegations. Can I have a motion to have Dr. Hill come forward?
So moved.
Do I have a seconder?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome. The floor is yours.
Great, thanks. As you know, I think I came last year with John Brazener and was talking about this project that we've got going, about Big Meadow Bog. And Big Meadow Bog, and I know David knows this very well, it's a gift. It's this just amazing landform where the community used to get Jones berries, and they had their own special name for a berry that everyone else in the world knows is baked apple or cloudberry, but they had their own special name. So it was a real part of the community. They used to duck hunt there and pick cranberries, and there was a path that went straight way down to South Pond and to the beach. And all that kind of was lost when the area was ditched. And it just got bad kind of slowly, and then it got bad really quickly. The impacts were felt very, very quickly. So that in about 2011, this botanist that I know, Sean Blaney, said that if nothing's done, this plant that is in that bog, it's going to go down. And he suggested that the ditches be plugged by 2014. So I got involved, my organization got involved in 2012, and I said pretty much the same thing. I said, to save the plant, you've got to save the bog. And we got some grant money together, and we got $600,000 in the last grant. And it was all trying to save the bog, to save the plant. But it's a beautiful story, but once you say this, sir.
Matt doesn't know what the plant is, I'm guessing.
Oh.
No, I do.
Oh, you
I
do?
read the stuff.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
and I have talked to a couple of electricians off the ferry, and they said, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm an ecological consultant. I try and try to save this little plant. And they said, what's it good for? And then I realized later that when we get this plant back, we get all those parts of the bog function back. We get the Jonesbury, we get the duck hunting, because they put spur ditches in the lily ponds, and it took apparently 5 years to drain. But it was effective. So now we've got the area's largest collection of seagulls. The local fishery doesn't like it. The lobster fishery doesn't like it because you need clear water to keep your lobsters going all year. And if you've got tainted water, that's not good. So we got to the point where we had this grant, and we still got it. And I've been talking to Environment Canada saying, please, can we have a little bit more time? And they're saying, well, what kind of time? I said, well, we might be able to get things going this year. And if we don't get things going, then the project stalls. And it's bad for the plant, but it's also bad for the project because it's a 3-year grant, and we very well could lose the back end of the grant. And so we tried to communicate with the landowner, and I even got on the Facebook. Be my friend. That's how desperate I am. And there's no reply. I talked to him once, and he said, well, it's a backward kind of place. He said, it'll never run. Well, then why don't you sell it? But H. Conservancy tried to buy it in, I think in 2006, that sort of time period, but they didn't get anywhere. They offered 31 at that time, 31,000. Department of Natural Resources Lands Division was given the case this whole year, and we just let them do it, but that didn't work. They had a piece of upland that the Northern Light, I think, did, which they didn't want to trade it, but they said, this is important enough, but here, take this piece of upland for your wetland, because we delineated that area. I'm also a wetland guy, and it's just totally wetland. So it's wetland, it can't be developed, but you could, in other areas, get permit to develop wetland, but here you've got Canada's rarest plant, so you're never, ever going to be able to develop it. So it's, right now, not having the land is an impediment to the community, because we can't get the boardwalk funding if we don't have the ditches plugged. We can't get the science done if we don't have the ditches plugged. We've got the community on our side. I say we, I mean, it's me and it's some other people, but over the last 3 or 4 years, I found it's not such a backward community as that after all, except for some. And that the people are understand, and people like E.P. Danny, he said, Nick, if you want to build a boardwalk on my land, we want it. We are looking forward to it. It's good for my grandkids, and it's good for the community. It is also showing the community the history, the Jimmy's Pond, the ice pond, how they used to salt the fish, all of that. Morals, fields, the whole thing. So it's a community message, and I'm wanting to, we've got a trails consultant hired. He was out on the bog with me and Danny Kenny. He wants to get youth involved. So I think, David, I know you're very interested in getting youth involved.
Oh, the O2 been nothing but amazing. They wrote a support letter too in the past. Looking forward to helping out with this.
And I just see this as very positive, but it hits a speed bump, and it could be a real derailing. But I see this as something very positive, and I see it as making Briar Island and the Neck even more of a destination than it is now.
And not to mention things like flooding. The way it is now just rushes right out, doesn't get soaked up. So the heavy flooding down around the store in Westport, a couple feet of water coming right into the store, and that's the only store we got down there. So there's numerous things besides and another thing, how many science projects are going on there now?
At least 6. We've got Mercury. We've got, because you don't want to. We're crossing off all the liabilities. We're looking at the impact on climate change. If this is going to be a positive for climate change, like right now, that bog is putting out 5 times more carbon than it should. We know that because we're measuring other. So this be nice to have carbon credits.
Yeah.
It's positive from in many ways. Nutrients. You plug the bog. You put it back together again. You stop the flooding. You also keep the nutrients in the bog better. The gulls will get discouraged. They'll move somewhere else. Right now, the gulls are going to Weymouth.
Great. Can't wait.
They come. So they get to eat there and then they come back for the night.
I think I've covered it all. The education, big for education.
The March of Science.
March of Science.
Always to a better place,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Well, just showing a sustainable land use, traditional ways, all that stuff. So what we would like to be able to move forward. And right now that's jeopardized. We've got a company out of Bridgetown who specialize in this. They've shown us that they can do it in the southwest of the bog. They plugged an area yards long, and they make ponds at the same time. They take the peat, they camp it into the old ditch, and then where they take the peat from becomes a little pool, and the water hits that peat plug, and after a while, it finds its way back to the old drainage ditch. So we know it can be done, and we have people waiting for us to do it.
Also, just to throw in how much the intimacy of the consultation with the village has been fantastic. Like Nick is well liked and well known throughout the island. Everything from hot dog, cook some hamburgers to almost like little parties to tell us about all the different science. Tons of questions. Everybody all very interested in all the different things. So it's been very, an exemplar model of community engagement. I think. I haven't heard a person say a thing in negative.
We've got, the Kennys, Teresa and Danny, they've just given that parking lot, they haven't given it to us, he's bouldered it off. He showed us the various gravel pits and rock pits on the island the other day. He's bouldered off the parking lot, and said, when you park, go here, I want this looking good.
Awesome. Don't have to pay for that now.
Well, we'll pay for part of it.
Yeah.
The board, he wants it
Of
to look
course.
good, he wants the nice bridge going over, there's an old berm dam,
Mm-hmm.
and that is an area that you can put a trail over, make a bridge, go to the other berm, and then go up to Jimmy's Pond, have some seating there. You start to think about, well, can we make an ice house where people can kind of gather? It'd be a replica, yes, but that would be nice. So that your mind starts to go.
You stay in the old ice house. That's where you're sleeping.
That's where I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
Matthew, you have any questions?
What's stopping? Is it? There's a parcel of land that's stopping.
It's 80, I might be wrong here, I think it's 89 acres. And as I said, I've contacted the man, everyone's contacted, there was the person who...
It's not being used for anything. It's just 89
It's
acres
just-
of land.
It's just rotting. It's literally rotting, and it's rotting 5 times faster than it should. It shouldn't be rotting. It should be adding moss and carbon and building up and having duck and geese.
Mhm.
It's just rotting,
Yep.
and it's a community liability.
And under your 600,000, you want to purchase that land?
No,
No.
we don't want to purchase it. We like municipality.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just wanted to make sure
We have the money not to purchase it. We have the money to
do all the rest of the.
do the benchmark stuff, to do all the on-the-ground restoration.
Yeah.
The actual land, in comparison, the land is invaluable, but it's a very small chunk of change in comparison with, and it's not the money, it's really the whole community project.
Yeah.
So he's got us over a barrel. Danny and Teresa, they took away part of that barrel when they gave us the ability to go onto their land and put the boardwalk to the first stage into Jimmy's Pond.
Mhm.
But still, if the plugging the ditches doesn't happen, we're still over that barrel. Because everything freezes. Well, you guys didn't do what you said you were going to, and everything's predicated on the fact that you said you were going to do this.
Yep.
And
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Cool.
yeah.
George?
Have these owners ever been here have they ever, looked at the land? Have they ever?
I'm not sure about Chris Sipley's wife, but Chris Sipley did come here. He bought a house. He bought a couple of properties up the neck. I don't know what. He didn't stay long, and he hasn't been here for maybe 5 years. That's what I hear. I talked to a friend of his, and she said she didn't really understand why he was not settling, why he was not negotiating.
What about like a lease? Were they ever approached about like leasing it for like 99 years or something? Or
That's a good question.
they still have kind of like ownership of it, but the community could still, still use it.
Yeah, I can't see
Yeah.
them, I can't see them doing that,
Yeah.
just because they don't respond. All of us have had a shot at interacting with them, trying to, I think even Wally tried to.
Yep, Friends of the Community,
Yeah,
Carol, all kinds of different folks. A lot of people worried about this.
But they did some
Don't really
ditching?
know.
I'm confused about the
ditching was
ditching.
done in 1958 when it belonged to.
Village Pew.
Everett,
Oh.
No, Village.
Mhm.
Everett did the ditching.
Yep.
Village, yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna grow blueberries there, and then they just ditched it, ruined the bog, and then nobody ever grew anything there.
And it was looking at the Fraser Valley. Basically, I think I got the impression that he went out west, saw agriculture on wetland, and said, well, I can do it here. And tried for several years. The northeast of the bog has, you can tell, something, that is their trial area, but nothing happened. It didn't grow well.
You have any questions on it? No? Any more questions? Okay. Well, thank you for coming in and talking to us about it. We've been looking at the expropriation model, and how that goes forward, and we've gotten some legal advice. And when we go in camera, we'll be talking about that later tonight. It's where it's to deal with a contract or a purchase. We'll be talking about it in that way. So we can later on we can let you know what the outcome was.
I was talking with the Environment Canada people, and I just leveled with them. I said, I don't think we're going to have time this spring to do what we need to do. And if we don't, what are the implications? And they said, as long as you can get on basically in the spring, we're okay. You can separate your financial year end from your activities. You can't separate it by much. And I was surprised because it was about $140,000 we're talking about. And they said, if you can say March 31st, that's your financial year end. If you can have an invoice in by then, you can extend it. But it's not a large thing that we're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Supporters. Supporters of Nick, I have this for you. Thanks a lot for coming. I really appreciate that. See, even offline, you got great support.
Okay, we're going to move on now. Dangerous and unsightly premises. There's nothing on the agenda for tonight. We now have the approval of minutes for Committee of the Whole for November the 14th.
So moved.
Do I have a seconder?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Old business arising, gateway to the Bay of Fundy. When we were away at the UNICEF conference, Linda and I were going to both talk to the people from up in the Colchester. Linda, you had a meeting with the mayor and with the chair.
The chair.
And
What the outcome of that was, Christine feels very strongly that they shouldn't be using the gateway to the funding. The chair had a different perspective, and
okay.
very different perspective. So Christine said she was going to bring it up, to the committee. They were also looking at setting up a meeting that Penny, Linda, myself, you would go and attend with everyone, and I'm just waiting to hear on that. But yeah, the chair I found was, we've already started it. That's
So when I talked to the chair about it, I talked to him about it the day before, but he said well, we're just in our draft stage, and he seemed to be willing to be flexible or to listen to us about, about the whole.
He
whole
kept
fact.
saying to the mayor, we realize we've already paid for this, we've already done this, and we're in this. Maybe in the next phase.
Well, that's because that's not what he was saying to me. So, so it's interesting. So you say that there's a possibly a
That
meeting going to
Christine
take place.
wants to set up a meeting, yes.
All right.
She was going back.
Awesome, great job.
Have you talked to Linda about this? Linda Graham, does she know yet?
No.
Okay.
I haven't had the opportunity to call her since I've been back. But I will be.
Okay.
Actually, we're supposed to be meeting sometime before the week's over anyway.
All right. So you can give her an update on that. And,
Oh, I plan on.
okay. Is there any questions?
Thank you, guys, for bringing it up.
Next thing on the agenda is the rural internet, which is an evolving
Daily.
daily.
Oh, is there?
With the directive, I have no problem making the motion that we remove the previous motion.
The MOU one, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a seconder.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved.
And now I would like to make a motion that we become involved with the Wren proposal.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
Oh, or let Matt,
I'll
yeah.
second that.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's to contribute up to $20,000.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved.
Oh, can I add a little something? Sorry, I should have mentioned it before. I've got a couple of addresses and names and for spots for potential towers, and you know how there's a lot of regulatory tape. And I know that you have, with Linda,
Yeah.
I'm going to maybe pass those. I'm going to pass them on to Evan, talk to the people, and so maybe if we can get that part of the ball rolling, it might be a very good idea with the amount of regulation. So if that's okay, I'll pass that. Are people okay with that? Just finding very good locations. I have a couple people that phoned me up and said, listen, I don't like internet. I'm not interested in internet, but my neighbors really want it. You can use my field. I don't care. Just use it. So stuff like that. So I'm going to explore those. And, of course, it would have to have a real agreement, not a handshake one. But,
Yeah.
yeah, and I'll pass on to Evan. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, you can give Linda's name. You don't have to. She will talk to Evan. Just give her the name.
Okay. Well, I want to talk to them first because they were sent to me and she wanted me to talk to them. The lady that sent them to me.
Also, I want to give an update on yesterday. There was a phone call meeting yesterday, a conference call, and it was the units from Barrington right up to here, and the Wren.
Mm-hmm.
And there was Evan put out 3 options, A, B, and C, and there was a feeling in the room at first at B, but then I spoke on it like I want to see us make sure that
We do this right.
we do
Yeah.
it right, but we also not only do it right, but we hit as many people as possible.
Exactly.
and as fast as we can. So, there's going to have to be some work done on, like, with getting a project manager in place and starting to decide on what the best direction to go in is. But at least we're moving on it, and I think that's the key thing.
Yep.
So did they like C the best then?
I think C was probably, at the end of the day, I think that's probably what
Was
we're
the
going to be
mixture.
looking at.
But there was no firm decision
Oh, okay.
on that. That would probably be fleshed out when they receive the results back from
Yeah.
the request for proposals. It may be something totally different than that, but I think the general feeling from the people on the call was that, I think they talked a lot about reaching as many people. And the coverage, I think, is something that they're going to look at.
Yeah.
Do we need to make a motion for that so that everybody else knows that's what we want too, is the C, or just
I
let
don't-
Evan know, or?
No.
No,
Oh,
I think
no.
it's going to be a joint decision, and the decision will be made, and I'm thinking at some point it'll come back to council.
It'll come back here,
Yeah.
but I think what we needed to do tonight was to get the ball rolling by
Mhm.
allocating the funds so that the project manager can be hired and we can start the process.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, my concern with A is that it didn't deal with all the small pockets, and I think that's going to be one of our biggest challenges. And so I was worried about that, and I was a little bit worried also AB. I just want to make sure that we're not waiting on third parties like we have in the past down the neck, for example, who got the, okay, yeah, we're gonna put something in, but then either put something in that doesn't work or doesn't do anything at all.
Yeah.
I just want to avoid that last mile, as to use the provincial terminology, that problem happening. I thought A reminded me a little too much of what we'd done before. Just, you know what I mean? This, like a long cable, and then it ended up not really benefiting us like we had hoped. So I'm glad that council.
You're gonna need the towers because it's the geography.
The purpose, when the cable was laid the first time under the Fundy project, that was not to service communities.
Oh,
That project was meant to service larger institutions and to build sort of the highway that wasn't there before.
okay.
So the Fundy web was never going down the path of providing internet to homeowners.
Oh.
It was
Totally different.
it was a backbone though.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. A backbone reminded me similar of how they.
to allow other people to do that.
Well, that's what happened when
Yeah.
it was turned over to or sold to Eastlink.
Yeah.
So, but the
Original
community-
purpose
the
didn't take
community
that into account.
colleges, like St. Anne's was hooked up, community colleges.
Schools,
hospital
libraries.
schools, those type of things.
Yeah. George and then Matthew.
So Barrington, right around to Digby, everybody's kind of on board?
It sounded pretty positive. All the rural units now. In
Yeah.
saying that, they wanted to talk to the town of Digby and the town of Yarmouth as well, and they also talked about reaching out to First Nations and to see whether that there was an interest on their part to be involved in this as well. So there's Acadia First Nations in Yarmouth County, and then there's Bear River First Nations up here. So there's going to be the RD. I mean, the REN will be reaching out and making those conversations take place. Matthew.
I think I answered them all. So Evan's gonna be the lead on this, and
With the REN, yeah.
yeah, pretty much what people are seeing here, we can tell them, because there's always people asking.
Yeah.
Cool, good.
You can let people know
We're working on it.
we're working on it. There's a plan going forward. so.
Plan going forward from Digby to Barrington.
This proposal had to be in by January, February. Are we going to shoot for that? Are they going to?
Yep.
Okay.
And there's no date yet.
No, but
it could be March,
Yeah,
but
there's a
but that's what we're
proposal
shooting for.
coming up in the new year. Has to be in sometime in the new year.
Yes,
No, federal. I think.
the federal,
Federal money.
criteria still hasn't been
Yeah,
released yet
so-
on that. So the longer it takes, we're hoping that
Better it is, yeah.
it'll
They
move it
will.
forward in the back, so it gives us more time to
Yeah.
get prepared.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is awesome. To have good news about this.
Any other questions?
Nope, that's good.
So I guess in a way, in some ways, it's you look at the actions of Annapolis County and Shelburne's really pushed us in this direction, and this might be the best thing for us. So.
Yeah.
so.
I feel that way for sure. I had a feeling something good was going to come out from Evan. I did. I think he had a good sense of what we were concerned about around here.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to move on if there's no other questions on that.
Yep.
And we got new business, Department of Fishery and Oceans Weather, and I think that's yours, David?
Yeah, I just want to talk about this. You know how they push back the date for heading out on the lobster boat, say, oh, look, it's going to be windy on Monday, don't go out, it's going to be too dangerous. Well, what happened this year is Monday was windy, and then they let them go out Tuesday, and then Wednesday hit, and it was 3 times as windy as what they thought was dangerous to go out on the first day. Of course, all kinds of people went out. I had boats out in 120 kilometer an hour wind. They're catching, 20% of their income of the year in that day. And if everybody is left to that, there's some real risks taken all throughout this count, all throughout LFA 34. And if they can, cancel it on a Monday. I'm pointing at nothing. Using my hands. If they can cancel it on a Monday for, blowing 25 knots or whatever, 20, 30 kilometers, 40 kilometers, 35 kilometers, and then it's 120 the day after, but they don't stop it, and there's a huge economic, imperative. You have to get out there, and they're willing to risk their lives to do it. And I think that in those circumstances during the first week, when there's severe weather, because it's entirely within their power, say, listen, it's blowing 120, nobody's going out today. Just for the first week, while the lure of your yearly income is so intense that you have to get out there, and the catches are now. If you don't rebait and pull up your traps, you're out tens of thousands of dollars. Just during that little window, I'd like to have like a letter sent to the DFO and for them to think about that, because, you know, people's lives, like that day was I was very stressed out that day because I felt like someone was going to die, and I had like real good friends of mine out there on the water fishing, and also the way it is nowadays, they're having a hard time finding experienced people for the boats. So, you know, there'll be a couple of guys on these boats haven't got a clue what they're doing, and here they are out in 120 weather. They've been on a boat the one day before. That's it. And that sort of stuff, I think it's a recipe for tragedy.
Yeah, but if you remember last year, David, when they held them off for almost a week, you had about 300 ugly lobster fishermen on the wharf, and they were about ready to kill DFO. So
Yeah, well,
it's a win. You're not going to. I don't know how you're going to do that.
I think.
Linda?
I actually agree with you, David. People, and it's usually the owners, it's not the guys fishing. And I can tell you what I had a owner of the boat tell me. He said, if a man gets lost, it doesn't matter. They're replaceable. That's what the owner told me, and he owns more than one boat. And I said to him, I hope you don't really mean that. And he just, I really felt he did mean it. So that's, you know, because he said, a new man's a phone call away. And I think, and I'm sorry, but I think if fishermen need DFO, and I'll tell you, when you start talking to the different unions or whatever they call them, you know, inshore, you know, that they really feel that they have no problem with that change, and maybe
If it's everybody, though.
yeah, well, yeah, it has to be that if there's a day that comes up and they have to say, you know what, there's no fishing today, maybe that's some time for them to look at it. Because we have fishermen that have got enough brains who know that, but then we get some fishermen that owners don't care. Get out there.
I agree with what you're both saying. Why are we still on a 100-year-old rule that we have to be on the last Monday of November when we have meteorologists that can tell us by Thursday afternoon what the wind's going to do on Monday? If it's going to be that bad, why don't we open it up so that they can go Friday? Those guys are sitting around. They
Go early.
They have exactly. They
Exactly.
have the traps ready a week before. They're
they
sitting
do,
on the wharf.
yep.
So if DFO, if you're worried about safety, which is, you know, that's what we're talking about, and that makes sense. Tell them to go Friday.
If it looks gorgeous for the weekend.
Because they could have, last year, they could have left on a Friday, fished for 2 days, and then took a week off when it was all that crazy weather.
But see, they
And
don't
everybody
want
would
to.
have been
They
happy.
won't.
Yeah,
They
but
want.
you're-
Once
then
they
how-
open it, they don't
But
want
then
to
how are you
stop.
going to regulate it from them? You don't, you know,
DFO
all
is
year.
The same way as they, not all year.
No, but
I'm
that's what I
talking
mean.
about
How are you
the
going to
first-
regulate the rest of the season?
first
Some of
week.
them
No,
go in the
same as
middle of
before.
January.
Same as before. It's just the first week.
They're
After,
crazy.
Yeah, after a couple of months, few weeks, it's just a completely different. All my friends and everyone I know, and every of my neighbors, they're all fishermen. They will go out those first couple of weeks, or that first week in particular. And you can just, if everybody didn't go out on Wednesday, it would just be pushed over to Thursday. Just be one day out of that week, just for safety. If you might recall, I can't remember, was it '94 when they changed the rules? They had 6 people die off a couple different boats. And the exact same sort of arguments, oh no, it has to be this way, they have to go out. Like you said, 100-year-old rule, killed a bunch of people. That exact same thing could have happened this week, or a couple weeks ago, very, very easily. All they had to do, and it's within their power, listen, it's blowing 120, no one's going out today. And the next day was fine.
Why don't
They
they
went
back
out
it
the
up
next
a
day.
week? I would just think I would be
Because
more.
Because
They're trying to let the other fisheries finish up. As one
If they're done
fisheries,
October 15th.
no, you're talking right around the province. There's
Oh,
different
right.
places with different times starting.
Yeah.
You have your mid-bay, you have your South Shore, you have Pictou. They're all, and, you know, they work it all around.
And just to throw in a story of danger, I know a fellow who took over a boat, and he made the call that it was too dangerous to go out. Owner said, nope, you're going out. He went out. On the way back in, he got hit with a wave, knocked out all of his power, including a CB. Could have killed them all. And when he got in, he quit. And he went to work as a first mate rather than be a captain, because if he can't make the safety call, then he didn't want anything to do with it. So that would have been a huge pay cut on principle, is what this guy did. And he went and found someone else that will go out.
Only question I have is, have you had any fishermen approach you on to raise this to council?
I had a lot of retired fishermen, because everybody's out fishing. I had people in Little River talk to me. I had ferrymen talk to me. It was a genuine concern throughout. And the exact sentence I heard from Little River, from some of the older gentlemen down at the store, is it'd take DFO nothing to make sure that no one went out. And he was worrying about his son and his grandson who was out fishing. And he said this morning, for example, he took the keys and forgot, because they're brain dead. Right? You've been working 22 hours solid. When I was fishing, we'd go out for 22 hours, come in for 2, and then you go out and do it again.
Yeah.
And then it's a recipe for disaster when you add that weather and the urgency to make money at the beginning of the season.
I want to play the devil's advocate
Yep.
here for a second, just because get the conversation. The fact is, though, are you going to ask then that they regulate the whole season, not just the beginning, but the whole?
No.
Like, for
No.
example, what
No.
happens if they want to go out in February and there's a
That's
bad
what
storm?
I-
They use brains then.
Yeah, they don't bother.
It's too cold, but there's no lobsters anyway. They're
No,
not a problem.
I know,
Okay,
but
Instead of
so
making
that's-
$20,000 that day,
That's
or
why I
more,
said bring it back. You're
They're
gonna get
making
DFO to bring it
$2,000.
back. It doesn't have to go back a whole week, but it has to come back some.
Yeah.
They've never wanted to go back. They always want to go forward. And that's why there's the urgency. You're only going to catch between the 28th of November and Christmas. And that's when you make your money.
Yeah,
That's why they're like that.
Yeah,
And
especially
that's
the-
why DFO has to change it. I'm not saying a week or a month behind, a few days back.
Yeah, a few days. I like what you're saying.
Because the first 2 or 3 days, that's when everybody's leaving. It's a lot of boats, and that's where the safety concerns come from. Even DFO said that. I've read that in many articles. But
Yeah.
after that, then it's fine. But push it back some.
Yeah,
And they know.
Something I pay attention to. I know a lot of guys have been knocked off. Injuries on the boat. My brother broke his arm. Things like that. It happens. And to show, like Jesse broke his arm, but never even went till the next day to the doctor. Got it cast up, went right back to pushing traps with one arm. And that's not an unusual story. Those guys will push themselves like you wouldn't even think possible. Break their hand and still work. And things like that, just unbelievable. And so I think DFO has, with that whole mythos, they worship at the altar of toughness, I find. And that's why DFO's got to step in and say, all right, Wednesday's blowing 120, you're all staying in Alpha 34. I'm not talking 2-3 weeks later when they will happily take a day off. They'll just give it a 2-day set to check it out. What's happening with the 2-day set, say in the Bay of Fundy or whatever. It's not urgent like it is that first 7 days.
So, what would your motion be then?
I would like us to write a letter expressing that sentiment. I like what Matt was saying, that there should be more attention paid to bad weather at the beginning of the season. It's within DFO's rights to, for example, give the example of what happened here. They go up to 116 kilometers in the Bay of Fundy. It was 116 kilometers blowing the day after.
We need a motion, not a discussion.
Yeah, I know. I'm just wondering how to
Okay,
word that.
at this stage,
I would so move that we write a letter to the Department of Fisheries and Oceans on our concern on the first week of lobster fisheries and the dangers that it poses from the unpredictable or inclement weather. And we'd like them to look at that situation for 1 week, and then you add into it.
So look at restricting, like controlling when they come and go, or how, what are you asking?
For them to
about?
look at the inclement weather with the fishermen.
Extreme weather and whether or not canceling it for a day
So
or
can't, with the,
restricting fishing for the day.
but what about?
Pat, would you read back what I said? Okay.
I don't.
I have moved and seconded to write a letter to DFO on our concern of the first week of lobster fishing and the dangers during that first week, requesting restriction.
Due to weather.
What
And,
about?
and give the example of what happened this year with the 120 kilometers.
Well, that wouldn't be in the motion,
Right.
though.
No.
what about what Matthew said about maybe being more flexible on when they start?
Yeah, I
even if
agree.
they started
That
today?
would be a different letter to me.
Okay. But wouldn't that be part of the same
No,
conversation?
it would be the same letter, it's going to the same,
Same
instead of having
letter.
two separate letters, I think.
Wouldn't it be two motions,
Yeah,
though?
because really what you're writing
Because
to them,
I-
they already do. They do.
Yeah, but you're-
Adjust it by
No,
safety
they don't.
going early, and
Only
if
the-
there's
only
really
the
bad
first day.
weather a little bit late, that they
Isn't-
can cancel it then.
But isn't your motion basically reflecting around the whole issue with the safety?
Yes.
At the beginning of the
And,
season.
and, but what he had mentioned was like an option to try to alleviate the issue, which could be going out a day or two early.
Okay, yeah.
And I guess that's what I was trying to say, is
Okay.
it's part of the whole conversation as to,
Start date.
yeah,
Yeah.
you could push it forward rather than push it back.
And it should be for any of the fisheries if they're concerned about weather.
At the very, very beginning.
Yeah, for the lobster fishery right around the province, not just,
Would you want to add in the letter that you'd like to have someone from DFO come in and speak to us on the whole issue?
Yes!
yeah. that'd
Then
be-
I can talk my convoluted argument much easier.
Well, then you can then express your concerns to them, and they can answer you back, and
Concerned about safety in regards to the first week of lobster
Yep.
season. Both start date and possible cancellations due to inclement weather. One of
just,
the maybe
just
change
in the
the
letter
mention.
ask that maybe a representative from DFO could come to council and speak on this issue.
But, so they know that this is the concern, so they know
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
I could get a couple of the older fellows who taught me, dictate me a letter I could bring to. with it. That's separate.
Should a copy of this letter go to, like, these fisheries association? Will they be for this or against this? do you
Well, it's
think?
worth checking it out. We're sending them a copy. One way or the other.
I guess my concern is we're doing this without their,
Without their knowledge, like, yeah, like, I'm feel that way too, like, you know,
we're asking for something on their behalf that maybe
Yeah.
they don't want, and just
Well, maybe
suggesting that
they,
it may.
the concern is coming actually from the public. I mean,
Yeah.
I heard everybody talk about, my God, they shouldn't have been out on Wednesday. I mean, it was all over. It
Mhm.
wasn't just, you know,
It was
and
like
I mean, that's our concern. Our
everybody
concern,
pit in
that's
their
a
stomach.
concern being asked by the community. It not necessarily mean the fishermen, but it's asked by the community.
Yeah, everybody was had in their pit of their stomach. Their wives,
Yeah.
husbands, you know, because it's not just men fishing nowadays.
No,
There's
my
a
niece
whole
was
bunch
fishing.
of women fishing. So,
so we've had a motion, and we've had a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. So, I think we need to send it to the Fishery Association too, I mean, and so that they're in the loop on,
definitely. Yeah.
on it, but. Okay, we're gonna now move on to the Chief Administrative Officer's report, and you've got the meeting dates and reminders. Reminder that December 16th at 6:30, the Christmas party is taking place at Roof Hound up on the ridge. There's no meeting on December the 19th.
But there is council, and I didn't include that, the council computer training starts 8:45 on the 19th,
That's on Monday.
on the 19th, it's Monday.
Yeah, Monday.
I'm looking forward to that.
The computer training on the 19th. And then, okay, the office is closed from December 26th to January the 2nd. I thought it was closed on the 25th too, but working days, I guess.
Working well. Monday's
They
the
have to come in
25th.
Christmas Day.
Okay. January the 3rd, the office reopens. January 9th at 3 p.m., retreat planning, all council at the municipal boardroom. January 9th at 5 p.m., the committee of the whole. January the 16th and 17th, we're going to do our council retreat at the Annapolis Basin Conference Center. January 23rd at 6 p.m., we have council. January 30th, there's no meeting. February 6th at 5 p.m., we have council and TIR. At 6 p.m., we have bylaw and policy. Well, it'll follow right after the TIR meeting. On February the 13th, we have committee of the whole at 5 p.m. February 20th at 5 p.m., we have bylaw and policy. And February 27th at 6 p.m., we have council. So now we'll move on to the CAO update. Is there any questions for the CAO regarding her update? Hearing none, we're going to go to the department reports. Are there any questions pertaining to the department reports?
It was nice to see the generator producing some kilowatt hours.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, the one up your end?
Yeah. No, it produced 20,000 hours, kilowatt hours, last month or something.
If there's no other questions on the department report, we're going to go on to the updates from the previous action items. Any questions? If not, we're going to now, the capital project update. I don't think there's anything there.
Everything under budget so far?
Yeah.
Was there any of those extra funds accounted for the 601,000 for the, I think 680 was budgeted for the turbine, the wind turbine? Is it all hooked up and running? Is that 80,000 we're gonna need to borrow into that to connect it to the grid? I'm just wondering the project if there's more money.
Which turbine are you referring to?
The new one.
The one you just rolled past.
Yeah, we're over budget right now by $10,000.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but, yeah,
Okay,
the
I got that mixed
other
up with
one,
the other one, yeah.
the other one was under budget, so.
Awesome. That was the one I was thinking of.
Once the new one gets hooked up and it's operational, I believe we're going to do a ribbon cutting, so kind of launch it to the community. And at the same time, it will be able to, showcase the other turbine that's on the same site. So I expect that probably, when will that be, in January?
We could discuss how these sort of projects are saving you tax money. That sort of stuff.
Yeah, but it's just going to be nice to showcase the two turbines, and it's a move to make us a little more greener. So. Okay. We'll move on now. There's under correspondence. There's nothing, and so next thing is to go in camera. So we can-
moved.
Seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Always wash them again. Why am I drink too much?